there's always been new things, I guess, at Yeringberg, because we're not what we were 160 years ago,
No.
even though we're in the same place and it's the same family.
Incredible.
This wine needs to come back to where it belongs.
People love wine, don't they?
Don't they? And that's what's
just so weird.
so cool about wine. It's like it's a
Yeah.
whole, I don't know, it's not just an alcoholic drink. It's a lot
No,
more,
it's
isn't it?
so much more, isn't
Yeah.
it?
I mean, if you're not always just trying to do it a bit better, then like, why are you doing it?
Sandra de Pury,
Hello.
welcome back to Different Drop. How are you? What's been going
Good,
on?
Thank you. Thanks for having me back again.
Of course.
It's been a couple of years.
I know. What brings you to Sydney?
Well, finished making wine, now it's time to sell it.
I,
Life of a winemaker.
I would think though that your work at the farm there never quite finishes. It's quite a holistic project, isn't it?
Yeah. There's always things going on. But
How are the lambs?
The lambs are growing a bit slowly because it hasn't rained really
Right.
all year. So, yeah, the green grass is a bit limited.
Yeah, because when we visited you, it's a couple of years ago now, but it was in the middle of, with some lambs.
Spring, so it was
Yeah, it was all happening.
September, yeah.
The lambs had just come out.
Yeah. So normally, like the lamb season is kind of November through till
Right,
March or something.
Yep.
So I think we're doing our last direct-to-consumer lambs next week.
Right.
And then that's going to be it because the grass is just gone.
Yep. So you have another vintage. You have the two vintages.
Sorry.
Well, you have your wine vintage.
and the
your
lamb vintage. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
look, it's always so wonderful to chat and to taste these wines because I think the amount of history that's wrapped up in Yeringberg and these bottles is remarkable. I wanted to really talk to you about. I've got a glass of the Marsanne Roussanne, but things that are happening and changing at Yeringberg. It's 160 odd years of Yeringberg growing grapes and making wines. All in the same family, which is incredible. And we were just having a laugh that until recently, a lot of people would say, "What's new?" And it's like, well, not much, but there's things going on. What's happening?
Well, I mean, there's always been new things, I guess, at Yeringberg because we're not what we were 160 years ago,
No.
even though we're in the same place and it's the same family. But yes, so we've been doing a lot of planting over the last 5 years.
Yeah.
So we decided, sort of 10 years ago, we decided that actually, we are in it for the long game. So we are going to invest a lot of money in planting new vineyards against phylloxera. So we've moved. We're lucky. We've got a hill, and so we're moving around. So our old vineyards are north and northeast.
Yep.
And so now we're planting east and south. So we've put in new vineyards, essentially replicating what we've got and adding a bit more.
And are they sort of cooler sites then
Yeah,
compared
much
to
cooler.
the original?
Yeah, exactly. So at the moment, they seem to be ripening about 10 days behind the other ones.
And that's
which
just
is
literally
great.
the other side of that hill.
Yeah, just moving around the
as
hill.
you come in,
Yeah, and so we've also put them obviously onto rootstocks and we've doubled the density and changed the orientation. And so that's all future-proofing.
Yeah.
What else have we done? We've taken a gamble on putting lasers in.
The lasers.
The
lasers sound amazing.
Yeah, so netting is one of the most horrible jobs of any winemaker's, vigneron's life because it's always hot and dusty and hard work. And we experimented last year with lasers on half the vineyard and then this year we doubled down and did the whole thing. And it worked.
The lasers sound incredible. So explain. So is it a whole network of lasers going across
so we've got a series of lasers and they just put out a signal and you can program and it just goes backwards and forwards in a random pattern from sunrise to sunset.
Right.
And you can't really see them unless you actually get it in your eye.
But the birds,
it upsets the birds. So instead of settling and kind of going, I like this bunch of grapes and I'm going to get into every sinle berry, they might get one berry and then they go, oh,
I wonder if there are
uncomfortable.
certain species of birds that are into it.
So some people have had problems with lorikeets because apparently lorikeets don't care about lasers.
No, well, they love all the different colours, don't they?
Yeah. So luckily, a green laser doesn't bother them at all.
Right.
Luckily, we don't have very many lorikeets.
What about some music playing through the vineyard? Maybe
that's the next step. Yeah. It's starting to get a little bit hippie, but we could go there.
So the most notable wine probably coming off those younger vines over the last couple of years is the Babyberg.
Yes.
We're not tasting the Babyberg. That's a Marsanne Roussanne now Viognier blend. But this is the OG Babyberg, isn't it? The Marsanne Roussanne. One thing I've always loved about your white wines is how at Yeringberg you really love texture and richness and flavour in the wines. I'm not scared of that, where a lot of the industry has gotten afraid of flavourful wines in a lot of ways, and I love that in this style.
I guess I make wines. I make wines I like to drink. At the end of the day, and I guess I'm also limited a bit by our equipment. So our press is really small because our winery is very small and we can't fit a bigger press in.
Yeah.
So doing whole bunch press is not really an option.
Yeah.
So everything gets crushed, all the white grapes, and it all gets a bit of skin contact because, we're never in a hurry and we, stop for lunch. And so that gives more flavour and more texture. And then also everything goes into barrels.
Yeah.
So, this time of the year, all my tanks are empty and everything's in barrel. Even rosé, Babyberg, it all spends 6 months in barrel.
And what's the sort of oak program? Like how much new oak do you try and get into this
It
wine, for example?
It varies. So this one, the Marsanne Roussanne, no new oak. Yeah,
Right.
so it's old barrels.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the barrels might be 2 years old. Maybe I used it for Chardonnay for a couple of years, so it's got a tiny bit, but you can't see new oak on this. Yeah.
And this is a blend that a lot of older Australian wine drinkers and collectors know very well, but it's probably fallen out of fashion somewhat. But have you seen dips in and out with certain varieties that you make, or is it pretty consistent?
Yeah, there's always fads and fashions, which we ignore. I think the Marsanne Roussanne is actually in some ways coming back. People now know those names in Australia, Marsanne and Roussanne, whereas I remember 10 or 15 years ago having to say, these are two different grape varieties and you'd find them in the Rhone Valley in France. And now people are like, Marsanne Roussanne, I know what that is.
Okay, that's good to hear.
Which is really good, yeah. So,
looking at any other Rhone white varietals?
Well, we've always had Viognier.
Claret, bit of Grenache Blanc?
No, we haven't planted anything like that. We're sticking to what we do well at the moment, yeah.
Oh, beautiful.
So maybe the next generation will put in something else.
How's 2022 for you? Because we're looking at that with aside from the rosé and all the wines. Yeah.
22 was, in some ways, was a really easy vintage. It was a COVID vintage. I didn't even employ a cellar hand that year to help. I actually did it all by myself. But the yields were tiny, especially on all the varieties except the Cab family. So the Viognier, we got 20% of our normal crop, which is kind of heartbreaking. But,
good for space in the
cellar. Yeah.
And it's incredible. I'm sure we got some pictures from when we visited, but this is a tiny shed where you make the wine. It is. You can't swing a cat or a lamb in there. And I'm sure maybe you do, but what's incredible, connected to the actual winery, the museum, or I don't know.
We call it the press room. That's where my great-grandfather and grandfather made wine. It's upstairs.
Yeah,
with all the old winemaking equipment.
Remarkable.
Exactly.
That was hair stand up on the arm sort of thing.
It's a living museum, I guess. It's amazing.
How does it feel to, I guess, be responsible for maintaining this incredible history and heritage of Yeringberg and the Yarra Valley?
No, it's just something we do now. It's part of our DNA.
Work, you don't really think too much about it.
Well, we do. So this year we looked at the big old wooden building, and the one end wall was starting to get quite porous, and rain was coming in. So got the builders to come and fix that, and they painted it. And that was all beautiful new paint, and then it was like, the rest of the building looks really terrible now. So they have literally been there for 6 months with scaffolding around the whole building, and we've repainted the whole thing, and it's just finished, and it looks super duper at the moment.
Yeah. And lasers?
No. But, we have to. It's part of our responsibility to kind of that history of Australian wine.
Yeah,
is that we're really lucky to have that.
It's not just Yeringberg. It's a you can just have it as a sales pitch for Yeringberg, but you walk in and it is that history of the Yarra Valley and Australian wine going back to the mid 19th century. It's amazing.
And even though we don't have it, we don't have a cellar door, but people do make appointments and people do get the chance to see it. And
do people just rock up sometimes and knock on?
Yeah, it's a little bit annoying.
I get it. We get the same thing here. Yeah, we try and remove our address.
Yeah,
it's not the same as Yeringberg here. It's not even close. I'm going to have a glass of rosé, but
this is fun.
So rosé, this is what the 4th or 5th release of this, and another innovation at Yeringberg. So you got lasers, you got young vines. Talk to us about the rosé.
So in 21 was the first rosé, and it was a pretty cruisy vintage. 21, it didn't all happen at once like some of the more recent vintages. So I had an amazing cellar hand that year, and she said, "Come on, Sandra, let's make a rosé." I was like, "Oh, I don't even drink rosé." But
was that just from they were doing baby vines?
Sorry,
that's the 99.
Yeah. So from 25-year-old vines.
Sorry, they're right.
So it's fruit that we would otherwise sell.
Yeah.
And so I thought, let's experiment, see what happens.
And Cabernet and Shiraz.
Yeah, Cabernet and Shiraz. So predominantly Cabernet.
Yeah.
And it seemed to work.
Yeah.
So now we're making it every year. And I didn't want to make a simple rosé. with sugar and lots of acid, and so this is, it's bone dry and it's got some phenolics. And
are you a rosé drinker? Do you
no,
like
not
rosé?
really. No. I like this rosé. So it's deliberately, got phenolics. I aged it in barrels for 6 months.
Yeah.
I think about it as a kind of a red wine without much colour, as opposed to.
Yeah, it's rosé for grown-ups, this, isn't it? Like, it's more in that Bandol territory of body. It's got some creaminess to it. It's got the structure and tannin there. You mentioned that you're not picking these varieties early for a rosé.
No, exactly.
They're fully ripe, and you see that there's power to the wine.
They're fully ripe. Yeah, the Shiraz and the Cabernet, they have to be, because I don't want, green methoxypyrazine rosé. That would be unpleasant.
It feels in the same zone as like the Marsanne Roussanne, just like the texture of it, like because of the same sort of barrel work, that little bit of extra time, it's got beautiful weight to it.
It feels like a Yeringberg wine, doesn't it?
It feels like a Yeringberg wine, sort of flavour. And
I try really hard not to make bad wine, and if something doesn't come up to scratch, I don't put it in bottle.
At this stage of like the history of, or this moment in time for Yeringberg, and also like your winemaking career, are you deliberately trying to do new things? Are you excited to try new things, or is it more just we had an opportunity, we did it, or is it something that you're like, no, I want to try and see what we can innovate with and do differently?
Well, I think with our main range, it's about keeping the consistency and just tweaks every year. Like every year, trying to make it a little bit better, because you only get one chance a year. It's not like when you run in a restaurant, you can, every night you've got service and you can tweak it, but in winemaking, you don't have too much room. So with the main range, that's what it's about. It's like tweaking it, and there's not enough fruit to do too much experimentation. If I've only got 5 barrels of Marsanne Roussanne,
you don't want to fuck it up.
Exactly. Whereas, so the opportunity now with all these young plantings coming on, I can do whatever I like, and try things. If it doesn't work, I pour it down the drain. There's not much cost to me. So that is pretty fun. So that's why, the Babyberg, I'm fermenting Marsanne on skins, and there's all sorts of ideas about what I might be able to do.
The Babybergs look great, and as you said, now getting Viognier in there this year as well, and that's a fascinating wine. And you were talking about maybe a Babyberg red down the track as well.
I'm trying to make a Babyberg drink. I haven't nailed it yet, but
in those new plantings, have you planted all Bordeaux varieties there, or?
We've replicated what we've got.
Right.
So Bordeaux varieties plus Chardonnay, Pinot, Viognier. Marsanne Roussanne. So the same core varieties.
And how big is the new plantings?
We've put in like the same as our old vineyard plus 50%, and then we've put in a big Pinot block as well, just straight Pinot. So that would quadruple our Pinot production eventually. At the moment, we're selling that fruit for the next decade or so. Yeah,
that's delicious. That rosé. How good is it?
Oh, it's winter rosé.
Yeah,
it's like
Yeah, I feel like a match of a variety of food. It doesn't need to be that cold.
Exactly, that's what I was just saying. Like, it's just warmed up a bit now, and it's much,
You're right, it's just like a lighter red wine, isn't it?
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Speaking of red wine.
Speaking of red wine.
Oh, how's that for a transition?
Cabernet. Thanks, Wade. So this is the Yeringberg. We just tried the straight Cabernet Sauvignon, which is beautiful in 22, and I love the structure in 22. I think that's been a bit of a hallmark in 22, is a little bit more, like still that freshness of 21, and vibrancy maybe a little bit more tannin.
But quite structured, the 22s. They've got a density to them, like in the tannins, I think.
Whereas this is obviously a blend of the five Bordeaux varieties, obviously majority Cabernet, and always a little bit more, I guess, approachable.
So this is from our oldest vineyard. So this is from the vineyard that was planted from the 60s onwards. So the average vine age would be, 45 years or something, at least.
What was originally planted back before?
Back by my great-grandfather.
Back.
So they had Cabernet, they had Shiraz, Pinot, definitely. We've seen bottles labelled with Pinot, spelt in French. Chardonnay, Hasler-Vallée, Gouet, Chasselas. Because they're Swiss. So full range. But they were much bigger. They were making, I would say, 10 times as much wine as we're making now.
Really?
That's why that
and they exported a lot of it as well, right?
Most of it was exported.
Amazing, because I remember seeing when we were there, some of the awards that they won.
From like 1895 and all sorts of things, It was quite extraordinary during vintage this year. Somebody contacted me by email and said, I want to bring back an old bottle of Yeringberg. And that happens a bit. People find old bottles in, cellars after someone dies and bring them back. And I thought, no worries, it'll be something from the 70s or 80s. So this guy turns up, and I was a bit in vintage, so I was a bit dirty and a bit, in a hurry. And he turns up and he's like, got this bottle in his arms like a baby, wrapped in bubble wrap. I was like, oh, this is interesting. We'll see what happens here. And he opened it up, and it's pre-World War One.
Amazing.
Red wine with, only about that far down. So it's full.
Oh, right. So you have that much left.
No, it's like basically a full bottle.
Wow.
Yeah, extraordinary. So generous.
Wow.
And it'd been in his cellar for years and
that?
years. Well, I put it in the cellar.
Yeah.
I thought we need to find a special occasion for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What was the wine or the
So
blend?
it's a Cabernet.
It's just a Cabernet.
Wine. Yeah. Kind
Amazing.
of, amazing.
That's
and
so
so
cool.
lovely that somebody would do that, and they just
Incredible.
this wine needs to come back to where it belongs.
People love wine, don't they?
Don't they? And that's what's
just so
kind of
weird.
so cool about wine. It's like it's a
Yeah.
whole. I don't know. It's not just an alcoholic drink. It's a lot more,
No, it's
isn't it?
so much more, isn't it? Yeah, it's a moment in time.
Yeah, all that sort of thing.
You must pretty regularly look at the wines that your father made back in the 70s, 60s, 70s?
Not that regularly, but from time to time. Yeah. I've been meaning for years I want to do some vertical tastings.
Yeah.
And look
How
at
was
them
the
all.
85 vintage?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I might grab some of that. Cabernets.
Cabernets. Yeah. Sorry. So I got distracted.
That's
this
fine.
is Cab Sauv, Merlot, Malbec, Cab Franc, and Petit Verdot. So all from the same vineyard. And it's a vineyard blend. So I don't do any blending trials on this at all.
Right.
I sort it in the vineyard, sort it on the sorting table. That's it. It's blended. Yeah.
I mean, the varieties are all planted
separately, so I can
right?
pick them separately, but the blend will vary
just a
according to the
vineyard
year.
blend and everything, yeah.
So this year the 22 has less Cab Franc than it normally would,
Right.
because the sheep got in the spring when the Cab Franc had nice shoots and they chewed them off. So it literally has
And
less
so we're
than
up
normal.
higher, a bit more mellow.
A bit more
and
mellow
Malbec,
in comparison.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is quite as soft and plush is the wrong word because it's so elegant and fine, but there's a lovely kind of softness to the blend this year, I think.
Yeah, and it looks quite different
Elegance.
from the straight Cab Sauv, doesn't it?
Oh, very much.
Yeah,
The tannin stands out a lot more on the straight Cabernet.
Yeah.
You feel like it needs time, whereas this is like charming right now.
Yeah,
isn't
but
it?
you know that you could come back in 10 years or 20 years.
Yarra Valley Cabernet is the best.
It is.
I'll fight anyone that disagrees. It's the best.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Yeah, and people always talk about the Yarra and they talk about Pinot and Chardonnay,
Yeah.
but Cabernet and Shiraz are just as good as the Pinot
Yeah,
and
well, especially
Chardonnay.
you're part of the region, obviously.
yeah.
They're the
exactly.
varieties that we should be focusing on. Do you? How does Yarra? I mean, you're a bit unique because it's so small and you have so many followers. But what's your perception of Yarra Valley Cabernet in the market? Is it?
Oh, it's very popular.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think the main Cabernet Blend producers in the Yarra. I mean, we're all selling our Cabernet. Yeah. Because people know it, and love it, and buy it. I think probably some of the other ones might be struggling a bit. Yeah, but for us, it's okay.
So do you talk much and collaborate at all with your Mount Marys and Yarra Yarrings and stuff?
Yeah, we all get on.
all
Like
mates.
It's the wine industry. We're all fierce competitors, but we can't make each other's wine.
No.
Yeah, we can't copy each other as much as we try.
Yeah.
So we might as well cooperate. So we cooperate and compete at the same time.
And
it's
surely
lovely.
we're all competing for people to drink more wine and to drink more Australian wine and to drink more Yarra Valley
Exactly.
wine and need to work together.
And so, if I've got a problem, I have no problem picking up the phone to Sam or Sarah and saying, actually, would you mind, giving me some advice on this? Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
it's
nice.
it's our favourite region, and that's a big part of it. There's such a nice community.
It is
feel
a
to
nice
Yarra.
community. Yeah, absolutely, and that makes it sort of a nice environment to work in. I hate to be working in a business where it's cutthroat and
Like online retail.
Well, yes, that might be. That's probably pretty cutthroat.
Or wholesale Nevada.
Yeah.
So how do the 23s and 24s in barrel look?
So the 23s are almost all bottled.
Yep.
And looking good so far.
Yep.
24s.
Another nice cool vintage for 23.
Yeah, 23 was
Yeah.
pretty cool. 24's looking good. 25's looking good. It's kind of like you're trying to keep them all in your head, all these vintages that are in different stages of evolution until you finally get them to this point where you're going, now we're talking about 22s. You go back in time. Yeah.
And what do you think if you were to try and fast forward ahead another decade or two, Sandra, with Yeringberg, what changes, if any, could you foresee, do you think? Or where do you think the brand will sit then? That's a tough question.
Hopefully the brand has an even better reputation. In another 10 years, we might be starting to bring some of the young vine fruit forward into the main wines. Hopefully Babyberg will be rocking and rolling. We may or may not have built a new winery by then. We keep on talking about it, but we haven't done it yet. Watch this space. And I'll be 10 years older.
Constantly improving and tinkering.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you so much for sitting down and chatting and for coming to see us. And we just love these wines because I think to have so much history, but also see all this, and not just the innovation with the fun young vine stuff, but just the evolution of the wines. And I think that there's always more and more kind of detail and purity that you see in these wines, I think, all the time.
And that's what you have to do, because you can't rest on your laurels.
No, but a lot of people with the resource you have and the history and the brand could be excused to do that a little bit.
It'd be boring.
It'd be boring.
Yeah, wouldn't it? You know, I mean, if you're not always just trying to do it a bit better, then why are you doing it? Yeah.
Oh, I love it. Well, thank you. That's great. We'll offer these out to everyone shortly. I think there's some of them already online and a couple of new ones, but make sure you go knock on the door at Yeringberg and Sandra will be happy. No, I'm just joking. Don't do that. You'll never find them. Thanks, Sandra. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
All right. Cheers, guys. Bye.